There we go. So welcome everybody to a Tilt webinar with Sonja Fedrizzi, dealing with COVID-19 restrictions in the MFL classroom through digital tools and low prep activities. Today is Saturday, the 27th of February, 2021. I'm Helen Myers. I'm the chair of the London branch of the Association for Language Learning, and our branch is really happy to host these webinars. We were helped an awful lot when we set this up by Heike Philp and by Linguascope, and we like to acknowledge them. And of course, the person who's brought all of these together, and we've now had in total, since we started in 2011, we've had 130 webinars, but we've had loads since last March. But it's Joe who's really done his talent scouting, brought everybody together. So Joe, over to you to introduce yourself and tell us what you can do for us.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Helen. Really excited for today's session. As you all know, I'm an independent languages consultant who's working absolutely flat out at the moment, trying to support language teachers from literally all over the world. In the chat, I've just put a list of example sessions that I can help people with. If you'd like any help on remote teaching or hybrid teaching or any sort of teaching at all, I can help you with that in relation to technology and how it can enhance language learning. I've also, a couple of days ago, I posted on Facebook and all over Twitter as well, a webinar list which I put together, which includes 19 webinars, one of which happened Wednesday, so that's gone to 18 to look forward to, including one today, which we're incredibly looking forward to as well. So if you do need any help or support, do watch the webinars, but get in contact as well if you'd like something more bespoke and customized. I would love to help your individual department or your multiple academy trust or your district if you're not from the UK, or your language association, what have you. You offer it to me and I can do it. Any time of day, it's all good. So over to you, Helen.
You mean that he's a world?
Yeah, absolutely. I was doing a tech clinic all of last week for the Korean Teaching English as a Second Language conference, 8 till 9:30 in the morning. So I had to get up at like whatever it was, 6:30 every day. That's probably one reason I'm quite tired as well. But yeah, no, great fun. And I am passionate about this, but I do have to make a living as well. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Little plug for ALL. If you're in ALL, please now write in the chat, encourage people to join. It is a great association and the numbers really are growing. And I think it's been lovely to see that as people have come to the webinar, so more and more people are now saying, yes, I'm a member, do join. So please join. And now is a very good time to join because we have on the 12th and 13th of March, an online conference this year. Normally it's a lovely, warm, friendly conference where we all see each other for real. But this year it's going to be online. And if you join now, you can get a 10% discount and you can get a very reasonable rate for being with us for those 2 days. So do join. These webinars are all free. You can get access to them freely by following a link on the ALL London website. So things coming up, I'm just going to quickly go through now, things that are coming up. We've got some 3rd of March, 5th of March. We've got Gloria coming March the 6th, another Saturday. I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Rachel Hawkes and David Binns on Monday the 8th of March. Danielle Warren's going to be here March the 25th. Jennifer, who's in the room and from New York and has been coming really regularly. We can't wait to hear you. I've seen what you're going to talk about. I know that's going to be really good. And then we've got just loads more people coming up, and I know even more that Joe has mentioned. So over to Joe now to introduce Sonja.
Fantastic. So we're so delighted to have Sonja speaking to us this afternoon. Sonja has been prolific in sharing ideas and being in a very sort of kind way as well, a very humble way, which I personally really appreciate as well. But she's been amazing in sharing her fantastic ideas on Twitter. I originally saw Sonja speak for the first time at the SALT conference back in November last year. And she also did a show and tell slot as well as part of a Linguascope webinar, I think a couple of months after that. So I know that we're in for a real treat. We've had a little glimpse behind the curtain already, and I can't wait to introduce Sonja and to see her presenting all these ideas in the session. If you have a question for Sonja, we're going to do all the questions at the end. So please, could you put the letter Q in front of your question in the chat, and then I will be along with other people if they would like to collecting the questions, and then we'll have some time at the end for the Q&A, and I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of questions. And first of all, I know the presentation itself, the design of the presentation is lovely, and I believe I'm right in saying that you created it in Canva, Sonja, and we're going to do a Canva party with Jérôme and Anna Granger, which we've got coming up as well. So I know in the SALT conference, people are saying, how did you design the presentation? How do you design the presentation? So it's Canva, but over to you, Sonja, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this on this lovely summer's, or not summer's day, it feels like a summer's day, this lovely February day.
It does.
And just, I'm sorry that, Sonja, you don't necessarily see people's faces throughout it, but we're here listening if you need to speak to us. So probably the co-hosts now, we take our videos off and look forward to hearing you.
All right, now let's get started. I hope I've shared the correct screen and you can see my lovely purple little person sitting on a little laptop. Is that right?
Yep, all good.
Okay, so welcome everyone to, I would say probably take 2 of my webinar called Dealing with COVID Restrictions in the MFL Classroom Through Digital Tools and Low Prep Activities. I've already seen a couple of people in the chat that I've recognized, so hello and thank you for coming back. And those of you who weren't here the first time, welcome. I'm very excited. I'm always very nervous at the beginning, so I might sound a bit flustered, but I hope that'll settle down very quickly. All right, now I'm gonna give you an idea about what we're going to do today. I just need to make this box a bit smaller because really I don't want to see myself. I'm just going to make this smaller and I hope this, yeah, that's good. That's better. Okay, so I want to tell you what the context of not tonight's, but today's presentation is about. So it's going to mirror the last couple of weeks of remote teaching, hopefully. I've got high hopes that we're all going to be back in the classroom soon. So that's part 1, and part 2 is going to be how I will be dealing, or how I have dealt with the COVID restrictions that are likely to still be in place when we go back. Now, this is the question I've asked everyone the last time, and I can already present you. Don't worry, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go into Menti. You can just sit back and relax. So this was the feedback from last time's session. And the reason I'm showing you this is, first of all, obviously digital tools are going to stick around. It's not all this wisdom that we have acquired and that Joe has taught us, well, certainly me, is going to still be around. And also I wanted to point out the fact that I'm using Menti here, and I'm using the ranking type of presentation in Menti here, and that's why I've brought this up, but we'll come back to that later on. Just something about my personal teaching setting. So I work in a school in Edinburgh, which has a wide range of SIMD, I keep saying it wrong, but so that stands for Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation. And what that means for me, obviously, is that I've got students from a variety of backgrounds that I need to accommodate now in my classes. Now, for this phase of remote teaching, we have been encouraged to increase the amount of live lessons. We weren't forced, but we've been told to, we've been encouraged, I would say, to up the amount of live lessons instead of setting asynchronous content. Students have been advised to follow the timetable, which parents have appreciated. Now, in my school, we have been, and I believe that's the case in many schools, we have been tracking the engagement, and so, but only in the senior phase, and the engagement was, so in S4 and S5, around 55%. Now, obviously, the reasons why this is not 100% are diverse, and, but I personally, it's a very complex matter, and I don't feel that I can, I'm not the person to solve all these problems, but what I can do is I can make proper adjustments to my teaching to change that and to deal with these limitations. And the limitations in my case have been the following, which are obviously different levels of digital literacy. then students were obviously overwhelmed at the beginning with this new setting, being at home, not knowing how to work certain tools. The whole situation, from my point of view, has been really challenging again. I would have thought that because we had done it before, it would be easier, but in some ways it has been harder at times. Now, also not being physically in the same room means that we don't have the same level of connection with our students, and that's hard on so many levels. So I've tried to, in my teaching, deal with that as well. This is what I've been doing. So I've been making instructional videos, and for individual tasks and tools. I've also used a combination of synchronous and asynchronous content through Lean live lessons. And I will explain what I mean by Lean in a second. I've also made a lot of relational tasks that I want to share with you this afternoon. Now, I'm bringing this slide up because I heavily rely on the Conti, Mars and Ears framework, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. But I thought just in terms of terminology, I'll bring that up as a quick refresher. So I've also sought permission from the author, and yeah, so he's granted me that. Now, this is an activity that I would like to show you first. So this is one of the instructional videos that I have made. Now, obviously, when you are in a class and you can see people's expressions, and you know by the noise levels, and you know by the content checking questions that you ask whether students have understood or not. But in a remote live lesson, that's not so straightforward. That's not so easy. You don't know that. You don't know whether they are getting it. And especially at the beginning of remote teaching, I was getting a lot of messages from students on Teams saying, so Miss, what are we doing today? I don't know what we're doing. So that's why I then thought, okay, I need to break this down and I need to make these videos. So let me see. I hope this is the part where I always get nervous. If it actually, hopefully it does work. So this is a spot the silent letter activity, which many of you are familiar with. Let's play the video, hopefully. Sorry, no, that's it. That's not a video, that's just a picture, just realized. And I'm in Class Notebook. Many of you are using Class Notebook as far as I know. And so I in the video, I'm talking them through how to use the pen and how to circle or underline the silent letter in this activity. So this is the video that hopefully will work. I'll just play. So this is an instructional video I made after I've noticed that many of my S5 students weren't handing in their work properly. So I thought, okay, I need to break this down, and this is what I did.
Hi.
I'm going to play this.
You're currently in Class Notebook, and I want to show you 3 things that you do before you hand in your work. The first thing is I want you to spell check your directed writing piece, and you do this by, first of all, marking your text and going to Tools, Set Proofing Language, and then here you go to Spanish. Now, a lot of times it's set in English already. I've used this a couple of times, which is why it's already in Spanish. Now, once you've done that, you can see that there are words underlined in red. Hang on, I'll make this white again. You click on it and you can decide whether you would like to ignore it or add to your dictionary. Other words, like here, Ngesa, which is a place name, you might wonder why it's underlined. It has to do something with the spelling, obviously. So if you can't find it in the dictionary, I would suggest you Google it. Now, if it's a spelling situation, a spelling mistake, or an accent that is missing, I have put all of the accents that you need in your class notebook, so you can just copy and paste them. Okay, the second thing is I want you to put your text into paragraphs. Now you can see here that this text is one entire text without any sections. You need to put them into the paragraphs that match your bullet points. Now let's do the first one. Where did you go and how did you get there? So where does that start? It starts here. So this is the first paragraph. Second paragraph, describe the area where your exchange partner lived. You go through the text and make it another paragraph. The last thing, once you've checked everything, once you've done your spell check, once you've put it into paragraphs, I would personally suggest that you go through the text one more time. You go to draw, and I would choose a pen. I'm opting for the green one. And then you go through every bullet point and you go, okay, have I included enough here? Yes, tick. Have I included enough in the second bullet point? Maybe not. Maybe I need to include more info. You do a check, and so on. Now, once you've done all of these 3 checks, that's you. You can hand it in and I will give you feedback immediately. Thank you.
Now, I have to say that after this video in particular, I got 2 really lovely emails from parents saying, oh, thank you for taking my son through this procedure, because for my students to write something in class notebook and to hand it in wasn't as straightforward. And so this made a difference.
Hi.
Okay. Moving on. Now this one, some of you might have seen that, and I hope the sound's not too noisy. The music that I've included, I want to share this as well, and this is about 5 minutes. So it's a video I've made for the S5 students for the directed writing task, and that's something that I don't want to say I'm proud of, but I'm happy that it's been so useful to my students, because again, I got feedback from parents on this video saying, why haven't we seen anything like this before? Now, I got the idea, I think, from Danielle, who showed something similar in the Linguascope webinar, and it looked so pretty, and I thought, oh, this is exactly what the S5s need. Now, also, by the way, when I say S5, I mean, so I think the equivalent in England would be probably A levels, so SQA, higher qualification, national qualification. That's probably the equivalent to an A level in Spanish. In this video, I take them through the individual bullet points. Now, in this task that they need to complete, they need to write 150 to 180 words on a certain topic, and there's 4 contexts, and I try to prepare them quite rigorously for that. But because of the stop and start nature of the whole, last 6 months, being in the room with students wasn't as, when I was in the room with students, it wasn't so easy to just sit next to them and then talk them through a text. So having a video like that made a difference, and I'm going to show you. Again, I hope the sound is not too loud. Let's see. It's about 5 minutes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to compose your directed writing task on the topic of employability. For that, you will need your directed writing booklet, sentence builders. These are just one example of them. Highlighters and a pen. I'm going to be taking you through the individual bullet points to make sure that you get the best outcome possible. Let's get started. hopefully it picks up again. Let's see. Okay. Don't know why it's not playing. Should be playing. Loading now. Yep, I think this is probably crashing. Probably. Don't know why.
Could you maybe talk us through what we would be seeing? Would that be possible?
I hope it is not crashing because it seems that it's loading, but I will talk you through it. And I hope this sort of loading sign will stop, because otherwise I won't probably not be able to go to the next slide. Now, what you would be seeing is me writing the whole text out and then giving instructions to them, telling them what they have to do. So I'm also telling them how to revise through it. I've got the video on YouTube as well. So copy it. So read it out, copy it, and I can't remember. Sorry, this is making me so nervous. So write it, cover it, and write it out again. That's sort of cycle, and that's what you would be seeing in this video. But again, I'm going to move on to the next slide. What I will say is that it has made a difference, again, also from parents saying, this is what we should have seen at the very beginning. So I will keep making those videos also beyond COVID, especially for instructions. Moving on to the next slide, hopefully. So hang on. It's not letting me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to close the PowerPoint, and then I'm going to say, okay. Now, the reason I include these instructional videos are, well, there's many, and I will definitely use those videos beyond COVID. And I personally find that it just helps students a lot with asynchronous tasks. As I was saying earlier, we're not in the same room with them. They need more than just, at least my students, they need more than just, oh, here's the task. And these videos, and I have to say I'm the same. I watch lots of tutorials because just reading something often doesn't explain it, but videos do. Now, especially students with low digital skills. Now, also, it gives, and that's something that I have found very useful, is that it gives students control over the pace of the information, so they can pause, they can rewind, they can rewatch, and again, parents can also watch it, which is beautiful. Now, beyond COVID, I think I will definitely keep those instructional videos to present new content, especially at the very beginning, because I find them a time saver, and I find that it's great for scaffolding, but also it saves a lot of energy. If I sometimes have a couple of S1 or S2 classes, and instead of repeating myself all the time, I could just press the video and there we go. A short video on an instruction or new content is, I find, very useful also in terms of my energy. What I would like to say is that obviously you have to keep them short and sweet. They don't replace, when we go back into the class, I wouldn't replace instructions completely, but they're a good way to get us off to a good start. Now, I find that to reduce the cognitive load as well, they are quite powerful. I also think that you should always feature in the video, in that video earlier that didn't work, I showed them. So this is the booklet that we're using, and this is the markers that you'll be using. Anything to reduce the amount anything that you can rule out, any questions that they could ask themselves, I just rule them out by showing them in a video. And obviously make them reusable, so that you don't have to create content every term, so that you've got certain topics where you can just pull out the video and go, okay, this is what I'm going to use, from 2 years on. Now, moving on to combining synchronous with asynchronous content. Now, it's a shame that Esmeralda is not here, because she said she'd sent me a message saying she can't be there, she can't be here, which is a shame, because I would have asked her for, I would have said to her that I now owe her a bouquet of flowers, because she clearly saved me by showing us at one of the show and tell webinars this wonderful classroom screen. Now, I'm going to make myself small again, because I won't want to see myself when I'm talking. The reason I'm saying this is because in the very first week of remote learning, I think it was in January, I was so excited, had all these tools, and I thought, oh, going to use them all. And I quickly realized that I was not only overwhelming myself, but also the students, and they were skipping between apps, and they couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up. So out of the blue, well, in a wonderful Tilt webinar, there was Esmeralda showing us the classroom screen, and showing us how you can have one screen and insert a couple of apps, a couple of, here I've got the sentence builder up, to just not have students swap between apps. And keeping lessons lean has been a total game changer as well. Not recreating a class that would last 15 minutes. I had a combination of probably, I usually have 30 minutes of this. So you can see, I'm going to have to click through. So you can see the Menti. There's a Menti, and there's the wheel of names that I think Esmeralda showed us as well. Then our beautiful people from, I hope I'm saying it right, Swavesea, is that how you say it? The wonderful team has shown us the flippity flashcards. They're always a winner in the sentence builds, and that combination together with asynchronous content has been very useful. Now, also the chat in Teams has been quite powerful, and I had totally underestimated that, but students love to chat, especially in the chat box. And not only did they socialize during my lesson, but also, as you can see, they were entering the words, and they were very engaged and giving me answers. Now, I don't know about your setting, but in my situation, I cannot see students, so that they are blocked out. I can't see any videos. I can hear them sometimes, but sometimes the quality is quite poor. So the chat box has been, for a month now more, has been our only way of communicating. And as you can see, many of them did engage. Now, this is another live lesson, very typical. So a couple of elements, not too many in the live format, plus asynchronous content. I'm going to show you I'm going to show you this here, because that let's praise each other in French I found particularly successful. And I'll show you now, and I call this a relational task. And I like Bitmochis. I don't use them all that much, but I do use them when there's anything that that's anything in my class that is about relationships and bringing people together. And in a normal classroom situation, obviously gestures of appreciation and acknowledgement that we send out to students, the welcoming, the feel that we give them when we greet them, and when we, a smile and a nod, it just brings us together and gives the students a sense of belonging and community. But this here is really difficult. And I personally like doing this right now, talking to you, it's not so easy, because I can't see what you think. I can't see everyone's sitting at home on their computer doing their own thing. So I thought, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to use this, I call it relational task. So I did ask students to praise each other in the target language. And I did that through Bitmojis, and I'm going to show you how they engaged. I'm sure most people know how to, you can, with your Bitmoji, you can change the language as well. And you do that on your Chrome, in your Chrome settings. So this is another one. This is one for Spanish, and this was for an S4 class, they were a bit older. And I thought, is this going to work? Are they going to think, oh, miss, this is so childish. Why do we have to do that? But they did it, and I can show you how they did it. What it looked like when they engaged and when they were saying nice things about each other. So you can see blah, 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 vraiment gentil, and what else have we got? Ella es muy simpático, should be simpática, pero but that's and people put in smiley faces. So I thought it was a good way for students to reach out to each other, to say something nice about each other in the target language, because that, you know, when people are nice to you, you rock up to the next lesson with a smile on your face, and you go, okay, yeah, this is a nice environment to work in. This slide here on routines. Now, I know that there has been a bit of a debate on Twitter regarding these holding screens, and the amazing Morgan MFL, as always, has showed us this, and I found it useful because anything that clarifies routines and procedures gives them, again, gives students a sense of security. And that's why I always post this at the very beginning. Just, I think strong procedures just makes they make our lives easier. So yeah. Now, my conclusion for the first part of remote learning, and I'm sure probably like me, you are looking forward to seeing your students again and to being in the room with them and connecting with them on a personal basis. So my conclusions are that in the current phase, we started out at the beginning with 100%, everyone was there, but then that quickly died down, and because they were overwhelmed, the digital skills were low. So making these instructional videos and using a combo of asynchronous and with synchronous and live, so asynchronous and synchronous lessons, and drastically simplifying the workflow brought back the engagement to 80%. Moving on now to the challenges of the COVID classroom, which we are hopefully, well, we'll hopefully all be back very soon. I think there have been announcements what the situation is like in England. Here, our primary schools, the first 3 years have been back since Monday. I'm personally very happy about that. So the question is obviously going to be, what is it going to look like when we go back? In the past, from August to the December lockdown, or sorry, January lockdown, I found that the fewer chats, the fact that there were fewer chats with students made it difficult, a lot more difficult to connect with them. Not being able to do choral speaking made input flooding really hard. Modeling sounds is impossible through a mask, I find. And we had, at least, I think that's probably also probably everywhere. I lost a lot of time due to hygiene protocols and safety protocols and staggered starting times of my students. So what I have been doing to deal with that is I have included recordings, the ones that I have shown you before, something along the lines of this, modeling sounds. I've used digital tools like everybody else, and I've included low prep activities to just stay sane. Now, I saw this, I think Joe was tweeting about this as well, that you will be, I don't know whether you will be wearing a mask when you go back. We certainly will be wearing a mask, because we did before. And I found that at times so hard, I have to admit. Now, it is not conducive when you are presenting a language, when you're modeling sounds, when you're practicing it, you can't hear the students, you can't see the faces. In my case, senior students have also been wearing masks. So I couldn't even hear what they were saying. So I couldn't give them proper feedback. And obviously it does impair relationships when you can't see somebody's face. I saw that quote and I thought I'd put that into that slide. So the mouth region in particular is good for expressing feelings of happiness, and concealing this area can be problematic when wanting to come across as approachable and friendly. Now, if we as languages teachers do not come across as friendly and approachable, I think that's a real problem. So what I've been doing is, I've made lots of video recordings, and I've learned from so many people how to do them properly. So Jimena, you're amazing. Again, hats off to you, and thank you for always giving me so much inspiration. So I have done video recordings using the Conti Smith Mouths and Ears. So as part of that, I've used Flippity, the Flippity manipulative plus Buckaroo recordings of myself to give students access to my voice at home. And I've done funny voices. Ms. Wozniak, the amazing Ms. Wozniak, has shown me this. I can't remember one of the Linguascope webinars, and I've used that quite a lot. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Also, natural readers have been very helpful. That's a website. Now, quickly, I'm going to whisk through that. So this is me doing a faulty echo activity. I remember vividly when I did, I don't know whether it was this or the other one, but I should have said I'm using the Mouths and Ears Conti terminology, and I'm going to be referring to that throughout this part as well. Now, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I remember I was wearing a mask and pressed the play button on one of those videos, and I remember distinctly that one of the students was saying, "So that's what she looks like," so because they hadn't seen me, and I think this really changed how they were viewing me and how they were viewing sounds. So that's me during the awareness raising phase of minimal pairs, and then comparing it on the big screen in the classroom. This is another one, also awareness raising, spot the silent letter, where I showed them the video in class, and we then compared our answers together. I have to say, I will keep that again after COVID, because I think the sound is so much better when you're in a room and they listen. When there's a video, they just look up and they listen up, and they're a lot more alert when they see a video. I don't really know why that is. I'm sure there's studies on that, but so that they were also completing those tasks a lot better and with a lot more energy than just me reading sounds to them. Now, funny voices. I love this one because it helps those students who, as you can see, this is an MS form. I love this task because students are often very shy when it comes to making sounds or producing sounds in a foreign language. So putting on an act and being, I don't know, a mouse or a pirate or a monster helps them overcome that. I did include the MS forms because it just, I could ask them how they were going, how they enjoyed, or whether, I'd normally talk to them about an activity like that. But I haven't been able to talk to my students, which is not ideal, I find. So this is what I used instead. Yeah. Okay, natural readers, you might have seen it. A colleague of mine has shown it to me. It's a wonderful tool, again, that you can use at home, that students can use at home. So when they're preparing for an oral presentation, they type in their text, and you can even choose an accent of French or any other language that you choose, and somebody reads it to you. And normally in a class without masks, I could walk through and correct the pronunciation and have chats, but it hasn't been possible. So this has been a really good alternative for me. Moving on to this, I know everyone knows Flippity, so I'm not going to explain how this works. Everyone knows how it works, and I want to say a few words about the manipulatives and how I've been using them. I'm sure many of you have already used them, so let's see. You insert the Buckaroo sound file that you've recorded, and in this case, students are reordering the sounds in the autonomy phase. This one here, I've been doing narrow listening tasks. So students, so I was also giving them a couple of false answers. They were not just all, so this is not just listen to it and put it in the right order, but listen to it and sort out the ones that are incorrect. And I chose sentences that there's just one word that was different. So this is what the results looked like. Yeah, so another one that this is more about text. So for directed writing, I've not only asked them to listen to it and put the text into the correct order, but then I went a step further and said, can you also please tell me what the information is and which bullet point this this corresponds to, just to give them a chance for their awareness raising. I find particular with lower level students who find writing hard, it's important to ask them what element of text that is, because it's very prescriptive, the directed writing task, and this helps them identify these individual points. Also, when they do preparation for their speaking exam, I let them revisit this task and just say, can you just listen to the audio recording? Because obviously when they listen, their speaking gets activated as well. Okay, I don't know whether Jerome is still here. Jerome, I picked that up from you, so thank you. Jerome, I presented this at the Linguascope, and then Jerome came back to me and said, oh, do you know that you can also insert YouTube video clips into your Flippity manipulation? I said, beautiful, let's do it. So I have been doing it, and I've been doing it mainly with those little Spanish video clips on culture. Again, quite, actually not quite, but very successful. Now, digital tools. I think you all know the digital tools that I'm going to share with you today. Then there's nothing new. But personally, I have to say that when we started lockdown last year and I saw these amazing tools, I completely immersed myself, but often felt overwhelmed and randomly used those tools without thinking about the rationale behind them and when to include them. But I've sort of, now I'm asking myself these questions that I've shown you. So does the app take me a step closer to the learning milestone of the individual stages of mouths and ears? Can I measure if students have reached their milestones? And also, will this app be useful beyond COVID? Because otherwise, I don't know, I think I have not had the learning intention always in mind, and I have to admit that, because I got carried away by a tool that was fancy and that looked fun, but didn't really think it through. So now, excuse me, I'm trying to be more conscious about the choices that I make with digital tools. Now, the Mentimeter, again, everyone knows this one. For retrieval practice, it's beautiful, and to promote, to prompt spontaneous answers. But also in terms of mouths and ears, I think for awareness raising, it's a beautiful tool for grammatical awareness raising and for syntactic differences. When you enter the receptive processing, and you do narrow reading tasks, Menti is beautiful. I think it does, in terms of fixing, if I say fix, it sounds that something's broken, but in terms of the COVID-safe classroom, when they're not mixing and they're not talking to each other and they're sitting in their allocated seats and they can't get up and do the usual mingling, I find that some students, it's very isolating for them, but a tool like this can, in a way, help build connections. It also makes sure that everyone answers, not just a few or those who are brave enough, but everyone, because you can check in terms of numbers how many people have actually entered their results. And when they see their answer on the big screen and they feel that they have achieved, they see that they've, as a group, produced something, that gives them a sense of achievement. Now, I will keep this, especially for narrow translation tasks, but I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is very widely used, and I'll show you what I've done with this. So this is in the receptive. So when we're in the receptive knowledge phase from the previous lesson, I'll show you. So this is what I've made. Sorry, I should have explained this better. So this is what so 31 kids engaged in this class. This is a bottom set S2 class. Many people, all of them actually put in an answer, which for me was huge. There are a couple of errors, so I've decided to reuse this slide, and I've put it in this, I've turned it into a worksheet and thought, okay, well, because I always try to recycle. I don't want to reinvent the wheel all the time, and I reused it and turned it into a worksheet, into an activity where they can fix their own mistakes. And I've highlighted them and said, oh, so what's wrong? And I like the idea of giving them the chance to produce something that is then useful for another task. I find that quite rewarding for students. Now, another Menti for narrow translation. So when I move into the scaffolded and highly controlled structural production, I've done these. And let's see, you could see, can you see this here? I think, no, you can't. For some reason you can't. But I did two of them. And, sorry, this was the initial one. Okay, so sorry for the music. So out of 6 students, only 2 had the answer. So for me, that meant, oh, I've moved too fast here. They don't know these chunks of language. They weren't ready. So that was clearly feedback for me to go, okay, you need to go over this again. And then I did it again. And the following lesson, you could see more people giving me the right answers. Now, this is another Menti, a ranking activity for narrow reading. I find the Menti quite powerful. Now, the danger obviously is that they just go tick, tick, tick and, move on. But if you combine that, and if you come back to those sentences in a follow-up activity, in a translation activity, or a delayed dictation, or a quick fire spiral, they're more eager to read through the questions properly. So I've a couple of further activities could be as well, further apps such as Spiral, do some app smashing, that's the word I believe, or you do some Menti, you go on another whiteboard like whiteboard.fi, where I've played Pictionary with them using those expressions. Okay, this is another one for a reading, for a narrow reading task I've done. I think, again, what's crucial is that you have to sort of weave in your digital tools into your other teaching so that it all comes together, I think, so that the digital tools support your learning intentions. Now, this here, so when we're in the expansion phase, I've done this one, and so this is for the Spanish teachers amongst yourselves. That the difference between the indefinido and imperfecto is quite challenging. So this is after a typical grammar lesson, I've asked them to give me another translation And in the following lesson, I then displayed the screenshot and we could pick up from there. Now, I've also, obviously, as you do, you ask your students content questions, but you also ask them, so what would you like us to do? And here I asked my S1, so what are you expecting? What would you like to do? And it's just to intrinsically motivate. Liam Printer is the go-to person for that in the MFL community. But I do think that when you ask them and when you show them that you do include their opinions, when you create further content, that they will engage more and they will trust you more. Now, Spiral Clip. Spiral has been hugely popular in the MFL community. It's a beautiful tool. And in particular, I like the clip format of Spiral. Now, I know that, I think it was Jimena who said she's using Edpuzzle and other people are using Edpuzzle, and I like that too, but it's not for me. I have to rule that out because it's blocked by my authority. Now, I find this one's quite intuitive because you can, because it's easy to use and also the students find it easy to use. I've used it for cultural clips and to recycle my own videos because I'm so keen, as you may well know by now, on doing making my own videos. And for a few receptive processing tasks, that's quite useful. It's been quite useful for me. And also when they're working autonomously, it has fixed for me when students. I find it tricky with listening and video content to keep students engaged because it's often too fast. They don't understand and then they disengage. But with the clip function, they have control over it, so they're keener to participate and they're keener to engage, and it reduces their anxiety over listening. Now. This is very straightforward. I don't know, I just think it's a video, but I'll skip that. I want to go to another one. Very quickly.
Bonjour à tous. Aujourd'hui, nous allons au collège, à Grenoble, pour interviewer les élèves. Voilà l'emploi du temps de la classe de 5e C.
Okay, so it just, you can insert questions at the in the video where you think you want your questions to sit, and then the beauty of Spiral obviously is that you will always get feedback on how the whole class has done. Very powerful. I'm not going to show you this. I'm a bit worried about showing videos this afternoon, to be honest, because of the hiccup earlier. So this one you've seen earlier, but I found that I was very pleased with myself that I thought of that because it's so I've just used my own video for the remote setting as well. So I find that quite practical to recycle my own videos and turn them into an activity like this. I'll definitely keep that one. Because you can, when you do for homework or you do a blended model or you do a station rotation model, this is quite useful when they are working in a self-guided fashion.
I'm going to start with the first sentence now. So that's numéro 1. Le petit déjeuner, je prends des céréales avec du thé. I'm going to read it again. Le petit déjeuner, je prends des céréales avec du thé.
Okay, and then the question pops up and they have to choose the correct answer. Mini whiteboard, I keep saying mini whiteboard, it's not mini, it's whiteboard.fi. Everyone again is using this, so I'm not going to, I trust that everyone knows how it works. I love it, and I know that it has fierce competition from Spiral, for example, which is also wonderful. But I keep using whiteboard.fi because in a classroom, or in any situation, it always brings out so much creativity in my students, and I'll show you how creative they've been. Now, it's particularly useful during the structured production phase and for retrieval practice to check understanding and to encourage when students encourage each other. And that's always something that's part of my lessons, that I ask them to say something nice about somebody else. And for some students, that's really hard to say something nice about each other. But I always find it's like a muscle. You just do it often enough and you train it, and then you get better at it. And then everyone benefits because they feel happy and connected, especially when we are socially distanced. Now, this was a delayed dictation. I like the intrinsic motivation theory, and I've included that here again. The podcast "A Motivated Classroom" by Liam Printer is a wonderful way to find out more about it. As you can see, students here, and this is, I have to say, every single time I've used this, and I've used this so many times, students always start drawing on their mini whiteboards. I don't know why. And be it an S1 class or an S5 class, they always start drawing, and it brings out a creativity in them. And that's why I've been sticking with it. My favorite my favorite activity so far has been this one here, which has been a presentation they have to do. It's a term of French, and they have to, and it's always tricky because they're always worried, and especially this year, where sometimes I found that they didn't even know the students didn't even know all the names of the people in their room they were in the same class with. So I came up with this activity, and I said, I want you to say something nice. I want you to praise the other person again. And this is what it looked like. And that was, I have to say, I'm still getting a bit emotional about this because it was so wonderful. I had the big screen up and the student in the middle who was presenting for a minute. And then at the end, they turned around and looked at all the praise that the other kids had given them. And that just changed a lot for them. And I also printed that off and glued it into their jotters. So yeah, I will definitely keep that beyond COVID, just to, for camaraderie. Padlet, everyone knows Padlet. I will keep Padlet because for collaborative writing, it's wonderful. And also for checking progress. Now, when you move into the structured production phase, that's from then onwards, I've been using it. It does, again, overcome when you, and I don't know what it's going to be like when we go back, but I don't think all of a sudden we can go back to where it was before. So for students to work together on a text is crucial. And with Padlet, they can do that, especially with classes of different levels and classes who, in my case, sometimes just don't want to work, students who don't want to work together. But when they don't know who they're working with, then they engage more. This is a task where an S5 class was again doing a directed writing piece together. We did 2 months of the typical Mars input flooding and all the stages. And then we moved into this phase where they had to sort of walk away a bit from the sentence builders. And I had been giving them feedback regularly on that. So this is what it looked like. And again, students didn't know who they were working with, which really added to their engagement, which it's interesting, I guess. So here I'm giving feedback, and then they're writing something, and then at the end, the good copy went into the class notebook. And the next Padlet task is an S1 Padlet for who's in my class, guess who. They didn't know each other. Normally I would play all these games where they walk through the class and they do questionnaires, and they would just see each other. But this year it wasn't possible. So I let them write something on Padlet, and they had to guess who that was. And that brought them together in a way. This is one that I did during the directed writing, during the structured production. So they had to get, sorry, that was too fast, but you can see they had to vote whether this was correct or not correct, the sentences that are put up. So again, another voting, is this correct? Is this incorrect? I also like Padlet because it looks nice, and I find that with students it has to look nice, otherwise they don't like it. I've tried similar tasks in Class Notebook, which I use, but it didn't work as well as here. Again, I believe it's because, well, it's not as pretty, and they like the idea that it just, they type it and it pops up, and yeah, so yeah, as you can see, they're all voting here. Now another one, correct or incorrect, very similar task. And I like about this that I can just come in and give them one word or one letter that is wrong, and that sticks with them better. And when they see them on the screen, the correction that I make. Word wall. Word wall is also very popular, and I will keep it because it's probably one of my go-tos at the moment for retrieval practice, or any sort of sorting activities. You might have noticed that I like sorting things. I like, tell me, which element does this belong to? So word wall lets you do that. The only drawback is that you can only have 5 activities per email address for free. So that's a bit of a drawback, but yeah. So structured production, obviously that's when it happens, and for narrow translation tasks, I've done this a lot, and for expansion. So when you do grammar lessons, that's when this comes in and becomes quite relevant, I find. I find that it's a time saver because you can use the same content, but you just choose a different activity, and that for me, that's I don't say everything is about time saving, but I think we have to look after ourselves and make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel. So here, this is a sorting task. I love sorting tasks, and I could give this to students sort of three times. That just I think at the very end, one student said, "Miss, isn't that the same thing? Like, isn't that the same vocab we did last week?" And I thought, thank you. Now that you can see, thank you that you've picked up on that. That meant that they were actually doing the task. So I could show you quickly this one. I'll show you this one. Sorting one. Yeah, so you can see my in the background as well. So yeah, and the same. You don't have to enter any new vocab. You just go, okay, different play mode, different activity, as you can see here, and then you can recycle it, which is always good. Okay. The game show. Okay, now moving away from the digital tools that we have all embraced during this pandemic, I also have, and this is part of the session, and I hope you're still all with me. I hope you still can soak up a bit what I'm telling you here. So I find that low digital or no digital lifesavers are key, especially as we've seen today. Technology can fail us, and in my case, COVID routines and protocols take a long time and can cause a lot of delay in a 15-minute lesson. So what I've done is I've created these settling tasks. I think I have put the source there. I think I've definitely seen it where in Danielle's post. So, but I'll show you what mine look like. And the settling tasks are just great for combining, and I'll show them to you shortly, the content that we are covering, but also, again, relational topics. So I let them talk about, what do you think about wearing masks? And I do that because I want them to talk about something that is topical and that is relational, because if they don't do that, then they won't be happy. And if they're not happy, they won't listen to what I have to say. Also, it helps me to get into the zone and to reflect about the current situation. So this is what they look like. I love, as you can see, I love Canva, and this is from Canva, obviously. So it's a combination of content, but also let's chat about this and that. And I've had some really lovely chats from obviously afar, in a socially distanced class. But this has been, these tasks have been true icebreakers, as you might want to call them. This one is another one. Now, I think Krista Hazel talked about this in her last Linguascope webinar, and I think it's really true. We do need to know and to get to know our students, because if we don't, then we can't gauge how we need to design our classes. So knowing them and connecting with them is motivating. And yeah. All right, my current low prep. If you're still around, Danielle, I love your book, and I think if you haven't got it, you should get it, because it's so many times, again, it's a true lifesaver when you go, I want to do something that's not digital, and she's got it so lovely, so well structured. So Lexi Tennis, I don't think Danielle calls it Lexi Tennis. I just thought that the Lexi Tennis sounds so Spanish and wonderful, so that's why I used it. The fast poem from Leo Languages is also amazing and has taught me so much. And Box It Up, I don't think Danielle calls it Box It Up. I call it Box It Up, and the Mexican Wave. So these are the three. We're nearly there. So this one, once you've done your extensive maths, they can start playing with the language. And again, at the beginning of a class, this can be quite useful because you don't need to prep it. You just, that's what I do. Depending on the topic, I display it on the big screen, and off they go. Very useful. If you want to make it a bit harder, the new word has to start with the last letter of the word of the opponent. This one from Leo Languages, really great way to either start a lesson or finish a lesson. It gets this sort of creative juices flowing, I guess. And I give them this, I display this, and they start on a certain topic. It's a bit like a brainstorm, come up with a poem. And it also engages those that say about themselves, and I've had this, oh miss, I'm not creative. And this student that I'm showing here was the one who said, oh miss, I don't do reading, I don't poetry. And she did this. So I found this quite inspiring, this task. Box it up. You don't have to make it you don't have to make it look nice. You can just give them a text or read a text, display a text, and say, put these into the categories. I'm very big on awareness raising, and I'm very big on what is this in meta language. So I've used this quite a lot. Again, you don't have to make the sheet as look like that. You can just give them a text, and so that you don't have to prepare all that much. Now, last one, we're almost there. The Mexican Wave. I like the Mexican Wave in a period 7 class when everybody's over it and they don't want to listen to me anymore. When they need to move around, and so I read a text and I allocate groups, and I say, so when I read this text in French or in Spanish and you hear that I'm saying a hobby, you have to get up. And they always like it, and they always engage, also the older ones, not just the younger ones. And it breaks this sort of fatigue at the end of the day. Now, I think when you are in such a chaotic setting, and I am at times, when some kids come in late, some kids are still cleaning the desks, some kids are getting the wipes from the other room. It can be quite chaotic, but when you have settlers, they know what's coming and it's grounding them. Also, it's making my life easier when I know, okay, the first 5 minutes are planned and I can just, it's a good way to start a lesson, and it's a good plan B when everything goes wrong. And tonight is a good example that sometimes technology is just not as reliable as we would like it to be. Okay, nearly there. So all of these things, recordings, and so video recordings, and using these beautiful digital tools that we've all explored and we've learned to use over the, well, thanks to courtesy of lockdown, I would say, and using low prep activity, low prep activities has certainly increased engagement in my situation, my classes, and has improved the learning outcomes, and has helped me and the students to deal with this situation. Thank you for everything, MFL Twitterati, because I'm getting really emotional here. It's really odd, but I hope I've included all these people, and that obviously there's more. Twitter has been such a revelation for me, and the kindness and the knowledge and the expertise I have had access to is just unfathomable. I have to say thank you for teaching me so much, and for answering all of my questions, and for just helping me as well through this whole pandemic. Thank you for giving me my joy. I don't want to say back, but for giving me joy in this time of remote and socially distanced teaching. Last slide. I'd love to hear from you. I can't see you right now. I'm just talking to my own screen. I don't even know if anyone's still out there. So if you wanted to get in touch, please do. I'd love to hear from you. That's me.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sonja. Well, you'll see the chat, as Helen was saying, lots of people are saying really lovely things. And so, thank you so much at the end as well for giving a shout out to so many people. We are all in this together, so it's just really lovely to hear. I'll get emotional now if I start gushing. So I'm going to hand over to Helen.
I'll stop sharing now. Stop.
Yeah, that's okay. Over to you, Helen. Oh, you're muted, Helen.
I'm being so careful, aren't I? Here, I'm about to make it so that everybody can open their videos, and you'll be able to open your mics and say thank you. But really, thank you so much. And I just feel there's not, as Joe says, there's nothing to add. You were so eloquent throughout. You were eloquent. You were modeling everything. You were modeling your practice with us. Gentle,
brilliant,
humble, but just, I mean, amazing ideas. So really a lovely model for us all. And the way that you brought those things together at the end and put up the names, that really means an awful lot to all of us, all the people here as well who are listening to you. So thank you so much, Sonja. Thank you so much, Joe, for organising all of this. I'm going to open up now the floodgates. So let's hope we haven't got any naughty people here. So here goes. So I'm going to open up it. So please, I do encourage you now to open your video, to open your audio so that Sonja can hear you and see you. And so I can take a picture of you all. So, all right, so I'm about to take pictures. So you've all got to look happy. Well, you are happy. Keep going while I take pictures. Picture number 1 coming up. 1, 2, 3. There we are. And after we've done this, have a little chat afterwards. So there we are. So I've done the first one. I can see Danielle down there. Good. And I'm going to the next one as well. Oh, I've got three pages I'm going through. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So Giselle, you're at the top left here. Pilar, you're there. 1, 2, 3. There we are. Oh, it didn't work that time. Let's go for another one. There we go. Well, it's not working for me either. There you are. That's just to show you. What's the thing? So one of mine isn't. What's the combination to get a print screen if my other thing isn't working? Joe, is it?
Well, you can use the print screen. You can use the snip and sketch.
No, I just want to use those 3 things. Is it? Return,
Windows Shift S. Windows Shift S.
That's all I want to know at the moment. Right. Thank you. Let's see if that one works. There we are. So that one has worked. So I was let down on my other one, and I'm going to another one now as well. Oh, no one's showing their video there, so that's fine. I'm happy. So thank you so much, so much. That was really, really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I'm so happy that people are still here, because when you talk to yourself for an hour and you can just hear the kids in the background, and you wonder, is anyone out there? So I'm so happy that people are still around. I'm so happy, honestly. Thank you. That means a lot. And it's so nice to see all these faces all of a sudden, because on Twitter sometimes you can't see the faces, but now you can see faces. Yeah. And that's what I think when we're in the classroom as well. It's everything's so distant. So these events are really lovely. Thank you for running these for free. That's I know it's a lot of effort. So thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. Yeah. Thank you for your kind words as well. It's just it's fantastic. It is lovely to see everyone's face as well. And yeah, it's just brilliant. It's just really lovely to see all your fantastic ideas, Sonja, and the humble way in which you share your ideas. And it's doing a lovely sort of feel good factor, I think, on a Saturday afternoon. It's been really great. It really has. And there aren't any questions either. I think we had a few questions in the chat, but they've all been dealt with basically. So I don't think if anyone else has any questions that you feel have not been answered, feel free to write them in the chat now. But I think your
explanations are so good. You've modeled your practice, you see.
I think people are just tired. Everyone's been overwhelmed, and it's a Saturday afternoon, and they're probably, is there a rugby match on? Is there something on?
Yes, there is. That's why
I know that there's a rugby match on, so yeah.
No, I'm also really looking forward to the Canva party, where we can learn how to do all these fantastic things. So presumably with your presentation, Sonja, with the characters, that's just part of Canva, and you can just just fantastic. So do you choose a certain size of image for your PowerPoint slide? Is that how you do it, or is there like a template that you can set up? Or
there is a template, but I've just copied and pasted into. You can download it and put it into PowerPoint, so it's very straightforward. I think Canva is just, I mean, I like this particular set, and that's why I use it in my classes as well, and the students seem to like it. So and you have to make it pretty. It just, that's how it is. You would think you didn't, but you do have to make it pretty, otherwise they don't look, and I have to sound the same. So
yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I've started using pictures more in my PowerPoint, but I always insist that before I go on, they've got to say, "J'adore vos images, madame." And they get a star student if they do that. So they're all racing to say it.
Fantastic. Right. So Laura has asked the question, what is your YouTube channel? Are you, is it a public one, or is it one?
I'm not a YouTuber, but I will put the video that I have made. I can tweet it if you like. I can tweet. Okay. I'll tweet once we sign off. I'll tweet the link, because I'm a bit disappointed that my lovely video just got cut off.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening there. It was like a buffering.
But you spent so much. I mean, you know this. You spent so much time on editing, and then I got the music, and I thought, okay, this is great, and then bam, it's not working. But it's all fine. We're all still here. There could be worse things. So I'll just tweet it afterwards, if that's
fine.
Okay.
So when you recorded that video, did you record it on a mobile device and then edit it in iMovie?
I did exactly what Jimena was saying. Right. And I bought one of those stands from, I shouldn't name, but I bought it from a big company.
Greg Baxter in the chat has very kindly given a link to an Amazon equivalent, about £15 for like a gooseneck tripod. So it's not expensive to do this sort of thing. It's fantastic. It's just being inspired by people like yourself, Sonja, to get us to think, to push the envelope about how we can use technology in different ways to enhance language learning. It's just brilliant.
I think the reason why I made this video is so that they can see that I'm writing. And it sounds so silly, you know, why would you, but there's something about text production that is for many students quite stressful. So when they see you writing out every paragraph, it does change things, and they feel, okay, so this is how you can do it, even the ones who really struggle. And when the music is funky and fun, then that adds to the whole thing. Obviously, everything has to be pretty, as I was saying earlier.
I'm sure there's lots. Well, I know there are people in the chat I can see right now who absolutely agree with you, and I'm sure they'll be along to the Canva party as well. Yeah.
Sounds good, doesn't it? We have parties. You see, we have Mexican wave, not hands up, and then quizzes, not tests. We have parties, not presentations. It's when is it? Because I didn't include that, and I know that I was annoyed at myself because I know.
I think it's the 29th of March off the top of my head.
29th of March.
Let me just check.
Yeah, that was right. Monday.
Is that
29th.
right? 29th of March?
And then we're penciling in the following Wednesday week.
7th.
just
We're
in case
penciling the
we-
7th of April. If there are so many ideas that we can't fill them all in the party time, then we're going to have an after party on the 7th of April.
After party. You will need your bouncers for that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
we should have said thank you. Every time now we must thank the bouncers.
What are you doing?
Oh, shall I start recording this now, by the way?
Maybe.